like a zoo is, like that whole experience. So they took a Google form. Before you used to send your kids from room to room, and do like tallies for graphs and things. Now they can make a Google form. And these are second graders, they made a Google form. And they asked people from their families, and the school, shared with the school as well, they asked very specific questions to describe, to get information about what the zoo experience was. So under the design thinking, they discovered a problem that zoos were Googleable. They're empathizing, they're trying to do some need funding, they're trying to figure out collect stories from people as to their experiences. They found out, I think, that collectively all the people that they got that answered their form had been to 17 different zoos across the United States and all had relatively similar experiences. And so here they are, and again, they're just making out an exhibit right here for how they would, and they later explained to the class, how this prototype would be different. We actually tweeted about this stuff, and it's in the notes for this presentation. And so the Austin Zoo found out about it, and they interacted, and they listened to the kids. And I'm like, hey, tell us about your ideas, because we might want to make some changes. So the kids thought like they were rock stars, and oh my God, like they're going to listen to us, and it was amazing. So I feel that they totally learned probably a lot more about habitat through the building of their own full-scale zoo, and so much of what we do as teachers is we plan for the kids, and we take them to the zoo. We do these things for them. The zoo came to us, and I thought that was crazy because of Twitter. But how do you start all this in general? I love that I'm in this room because I love this, how the space is set up. You have to make room for questioning and for learning. So this is what my classroom looked like before I started diving into design thinking. It had all my stuff everywhere, and it was my stuff, like my teacher stuff. And so much of what we talk about is like building relationships with our kids, and when the kids come in that first day, you're like, oh yeah, we're a family, we're a team. And then they look around the room, and it's all things that I put up, all in the places that I wanted them. And I went to a session by the third teacher. They're based out of Chicago, and they have all their stuff online for free. But their whole idea is that the kids' primary teachers are their family, and then there are the school teachers, but then the third teacher in life is your environment. And so setting up that environment for successful learning outcomes is a big deal. So we changed up our room, and we did this in the middle of March, so it was ridiculously ill-timed. But I had the kids take all the stuff down. Don't let them get on chairs, like that probably is. That's not the safest thing in the world. But, and then we sat down and we figured out, so you can see here, bare walls now. What are we going to put in our room? And when I asked the kids, what do you guys want in the room? Think about workspaces and they talked about the different spaces they had been to for work. And one student, his name is Enzo, he's right here, he said, when I go to my mom's office, come on in. When I go to my mom's office, she has pictures of me. And my brothers and sisters, and my friends there. And that makes me feel good, and that probably makes her feel good throughout the day to see that. So just bring in the pictures then, and put them in their binders, or we made a special place, we called it our inspiration mural, where kids brought in pictures and wrote quotes to inspire them, and we put it in the want to actually strive to work in one day, like Google or Facebook. That's where we took our inspiration from. And then luckily we won a grant after doing all these things from Google to get Chromebooks in our classroom. But we didn't win enough money to actually get a cart. So we took a paper sorter, and one of the dads in the classroom drilled holes in the back for us, and we threw the cords back through there and just made it work. It's a little bit of a love hack right there. It cost like $40. It's my Chromebook card. All right, so this will take you to the links on more on the designs of the spaces. But again, like I talked about the zoo, you were trying to figuring out what matter was, immersing yourself in a topic, coming up with a plan to how you're going to get information about the topic, and then what do you do with the Googleable questions? So here's where I'll show you a few things. So for the little ones, if your schools are scared or they're worried about the things that might come up in Google search, SquirrelNet and KidRex.org are sites that are kid-friendly Google search. For the high school kids, you might every once in a while point them towards something called Google a Day. Google a Day is a site that will actually time your searches and give you like questions and clues and teach you to be a better searcher. And then what we'll do is we'll actually go to this site. This site is 26 ways to demystify Google search. But basically it's like 26 ways to get more awesome at search.
Just FYI, Google a Day is blocked by CPS, and so
Actually, they told me if anybody from the school could like type in.
yeah. But so then students can't.
But students, man, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
You can submit it to be approved.
Yeah, then there's forever,
There's
it's
huge.
huge.
Yeah.
Dang it. And I saw YouTube a lot too, which is
Yeah.
really good, because so many kids learn onto that. Yeah.
Comment on your presentation, like, can I type comments on it?
Like over it,
Not over yours, but like in.
for yourself,
Yeah.
you can like go to the presentation and go to make a copy. And then it'll make you up your own copy, and you can actually comment on every slide if you want. Good question. Actually, that's a good little strategy. I never thought of that. All right, so this demystifying Google search, I would share it with kids to take home to look through. That basically teaches you a few different things that you can do that I never knew before. So one of them that's my favorite is like excluding words. So if I want to look up Jaguar speed, but I want to eliminate all cars, I just put the subtraction sign, car, or subtraction auto, and it will take out any reference to cars. If I went to this like amazing restaurant last night and I can't think of the name of it, or I'm trying to think of a quote and I only know some of the words, I can put in as many of the words that I know and put an asterisk like in the spot of like what I'm not sure of, and it will actually look for those words and try to fill them in for you. Searching for a range of values, you can actually type in flights to LA and you want to pay between like $200 and $300, puts 2 dots in between and it'll only search between those two ranges. As well as if you're searching for the Great Depression, but you only want sources that are from 1928 to 1931, you just put in those 2 periods. Like those are things that I hadn't clue about. My favorite though, when it comes to Google search, let's say I'm looking at Jupiter, is you click on search tools and you can search your results by reading level. So that might not be something that you have heard before, but if you click on search tools, you go to reading level. So if I'm teaching little ones, I click on basic, and boom, they give you results that are geared more towards children. So I always think that that's like amazing.
Can you see the drop down? Oh, it's basically reading that.
And you can teach the kids to do that.
Yeah, so here's another thing too. Please show your kids this. Go, oh, who's the librarian? All right, this is for you. You go to images, they're going to pull something from the internet, You have them go to search tools, please teach them to search by usage rights.
Yeah.
So they can use labels for reuse. Just, it's so easy. Then it's like, that's the stuff that they can use without being plagiarist or whatever the word would be. All right. Let me just show you one other thing since we have a librarian in the room, and because it's important, especially when kids are, the lights cut out in and out here.
Yeah.
And it's like a specific part of the room that you have to move in. I think it might, last time it was around here. Yeah.
Oh, so I need to wiggle every now and then.
So if you were to create a Google Doc, and some of you might want to show us.
research thing?
Yes.
I saw that yesterday.
So again, we're back onto Jupyter. Now, all you have to do, this is kind of weird, is right click right after you write a word. If you right click and hit define, right there within the presentation, I'm sorry, no, I don't want to define, I want research. It'll research it for you. Now, if you click on the little arrow, drop down, you can filter it by free to use, and for when it's cited, I can have it cited to MLA, APA, or Chicago. So my teacher said I have to cite an MLA, so I'm going to push MLA here, close this up here, and then I want to insert this image into my presentation. This also works in Google Presentation. So I slide it over, guess what? It included the image and it cited it for me. Some of you are going to go back to grad school now because of this, right? You're like, oh, I can do this. Yeah. No, isn't that amazing?
There's another way to do it, the easy bit, but this is so much easier.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Easy bit add-on.
Yeah, no, this is. So now, let's say I read this article right here. When you hover over the article, I read this article, and of course, I summarize what I took from the article. But then guess what? All I have, if I want to insert the link, I push insert. But if I want to just cite it, I click on cite. Boom, happens like down there. Just like that. Teach your kids. when you're in the discovery phase. So there's a new site, it's called Nepris. It's right here, that's how it's spelled. Nepris allows you to interact with people out there in the industry. So many times we want to connect our students with like, I want to bring in a mathematician of some sort, and a data scientist. I would love to connect my kids with a chef or somebody in the fashion industry. And then you've got to go out and find these people in your community and try to bring them in. Well, Nepris has a relationship with people in all kinds of industry that have had background checks and that are part of companies that are looking to mentor students. So it's like part of like their company's outreach, but also it benefits the company because kids from certain areas, it's like a keynote yesterday, if they never had interaction with a biomedical engineer, they might not know what it is to be one or ever even aspire to be that because they don't even know that it exists. So this is their way of exposing more kids to these careers and honestly recruiting people for their future, right? So Nepris has made the connections with people all over. You guys are lucky because Nepris actually has a team in Chicago. So that's even better. But they will hook your class up. You put in a request with somebody in the industry of whatever sort of industry you want, and then those people will do they'll set up like a Skype conversation with your class. Now, this is great for like a virtual field trip, but those of you who teach high school, they go even a step beyond that. In that, like this class right here or this table here might be working on maybe it's an engineering class, and they're designing a rocket. You can actually have these people mentor your kids through the project. So you can say, I need a rocket engineer or whatever, some sort of engineer person, 3 times over the next 6 weeks for 30 minutes each time. And then you set it up for this group, they find the person, you set up the actual appointment times, and that person will hang out with your kids for those assigned times to check the progress of the project. They just rolled out one step further. I know that most of these components are available in the free version, but this one might be only available in the paid version. But on the paid version, I think they will even help, when your kids present, they can present to 5 different engineers, and or whatever it is again that they're working on, and they'll serve as a question panel for your students when they're doing their presentations. And I think that's amazing because there's so many times my students have presented and I've got to fake it. Oh yeah, they're talking about Minecraft or computer coding. I'm trying to ask questions that probably make no sense because I don't have expertise in that area. And so I love Nepris for that. I put Connected Classroom. It's a G+ community. Connected Classroom is good to connect kids to classrooms in other parts of the world. You'll see teachers post, I'm looking to connect with the 5th grade class on dot day. We're from Canada. And so that's a good place. But I like Nepris because of the industry components. News ELA is one of my other favorite resources. It actually allows you to find articles that are about things that are happening in the world. So your kids can search through here for some of their information. But the best part, so here, if I wanted to talk to my students about the U.S. border crisis, I can share this article if it's available with the Google login. I can share this article with my students based on their lexile level, on their reading level. So the same kids can engage in a discussion about one article, but she doesn't know that she got it at the 3rd grade level, and then he got it at the 8th grade level.
Oh.
Yeah.
So is this,
It's free.
and it's called
Newsella or Newsela. Yeah.
And how do you share it?
So you create a login. You sign in actually like this. Sign in with Google, and then you create a class. And so then it'll send it out to your class. You put in your class. And you could also just print it out, print out the 4 different versions and pass them out. And example, I can search here, and I can choose a reading standard if I wanted, or search for just articles that have quizzes. And so, yeah, I mean, you could talk about what's happening in Ferguson, and it actually has a quiz. And you can share it out. This isn't on grade level 8, but this article specifically goes down to grade 4. Yeah, and it tells you. Yeah, and the word count and all that. So definitely, like, I know for me personally, when I was a kiddo, like, we got to read real world things when the weekly reader came, but like we had to share it with different grade levels. So like our weekly reader would be like once every semester, and so this sort of stuff, like getting access to things that are happening at their reading level, like that's at any time you want for free. Like I don't know who takes the time every single day to read articles and like pare them down, but like I love whoever does this. Like that is a great thing that they're doing. So yeah, so
And is there ads on the article if you click on it?
I don't think so. I haven't seen any. No, I mean, let me show you something in case there are ads in an article that you guys might want to.
Yeah, it shows them
Let
that.
me show you something. So I know you would never get, probably show your kids anything on ESPN, maybe you would, but just in case, they're notorious for lots of flashy ads and things. Like Mercedes, that's actually really like a tame sort of ad. Usually it's like about fitness and it's like somebody not appropriately dressed. You don't want to like probably share like this sort of article that has all this stuff for your kids. And then also it's total pain to go through and copy and paste and just what you want and move it to a Word doc. I have an extension up here called Clearly, and I click on Clearly, and Clearly clears up the whole article, and I can share it with my kids this way.
Yeah, you can print it out that way.
You can print it out that way, or if you have Evernote in your classroom, you can push it out this way too. Yes. It's like magic, right? How do you do that? Sure. So if you're using Chrome, it only works on Chrome. You click on a tab. So Chrome is on any computer, like it's Safari or Firefox. Like just go to Google.com, put in Chrome, download Chrome, and use that as your browser instead. So like
And
if you're,
CPS computers, it's already installed.
so you already have Chrome. Okay. So then, awesome. So then, so if you have Chrome, you open up a new tab, and up here on the left-hand side where it says Apps, you'll go to the Chrome store. So go to the Chrome store, and for free, type in Clearly, except I can't type. And then scroll down to where it says Extensions, and it'll add this little extension to your browser. It'll be up here. So any website I'm ever on, I just click the little, it looks like a little overhead. I click on the little overhead looking thing, and boom, it clears it all up for me.
Is it the tab that says shopping?
Yeah,
Trying to get to the.
it's called the Chrome store.
The apps, yeah. So,
Alright.
Open it.
So here are just a bunch of resources on how, again, where to get your information, because this stuff isn't necessarily Google. You're reading about people's opinions. You're inviting experts into your classroom. This is how you access the non-Googleable stuff. And then developing empathy. Let's see if we have time for an activity. Wait, what time is the schedule? 11:15? Perfect, okay. So we'll do a really quick activity. So one of the things I always work on with my students is like, how do you put yourself in the place of another person and build something for that person and get past your perspective? So I do simple little activities. They're called STOKE activities. And the resource, there's a list of a place on the presentation where you can find a link to these. They're from the D school at Stanford, but like little things you can do with your kids. So you don't have to like make every single lesson you ever have include design. design stuff, for design challenges or whatever. But as long as you infuse a little things here and there, you give the kids a practice with skills that they're going to need once they step out into the world. So this is like taking you through design thinking in 2 minutes. So I'm going to hand you each a sheet of foil. So and these again are, I think this whole box of foil cost me $1. So it's easier if you buy it in a box of just all the sheets pre-cut. Yeah, I bought these at the grocery store. It was the box was $1 for 20 sheets. So, all right. Because design thinking, just so you guys know, I'll show you real quick. So what we're going to do is actually going to prototype. So this is, I got to meet a couple weeks ago Tom Chi, who was one of the managers for the Google X Labs. And he was behind the prototyping of the first iteration of Google Glass. And so he came and talked to us about rapid prototyping and how they used essentially a hanger, and they prototyped Google Glass. And he asked, there's a link here to a TED Talk he does about this, and he asks the audience, how long do you think it took us before we had our very first model of Google Glass and our first prototype? Like a year, a couple months, a week. It was like 45 minutes. And it only took that long because they had trouble finding the rubber band. So they had to run around, they were looking for one last thing. So, because they use simple materials, just like foil, but they use clay and a hanger and paper.
But that's just a model, right?
Yeah, it's just a model. Because they wanted to see already, they determined, and he goes through it in a TED Talk, how, when you wear glasses, where the weight usually is at. And with the Google Glass, where could they place this whole, the weight of the little whatever it is? Yeah. So that it would be comfortable for people, right? And so that's what they worked on forever, is before they ever actually put together the actual device, they used those tools to actually pitch it to people and say, hey, can we work on this? It's a pretty inspiring talk. It's only a few minutes long, but it's there for you. He talks about how to maximize the rate of learning, you have to sometimes minimize the